There's a quiet war happening inside you, every day, every hour. A silent tug-of-war between what you want now and what you want most. And at the center of that conflict lies one of the most misunderstood forces in human behavior: willpower. We often talk about willpower as if it's a moral trait. Some people have it, others don't. But that's not how science sees it. Willpower isn't a fixed character trait. It's a biological function, measurable, trainable, and exhaustible. And once you understand how it really works, you stop blaming yourself and start upgrading yourself. Let's start at the root. Willpower lives in the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain right behind your forehead. It's the CEO of your mind, responsible for focus, impulse control, and planning. But this CEO is constantly negotiating with much older parts of your brain that don't care about long-term goals. They want comfort, sugar, dopamine, now. This is why resisting temptation feels like a struggle, because it is a neural battle between the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system, between logic and craving, between the person you are and the person you're trying to become. And here's the twist. That battle consumes energy, literally. Willpower draws on your body's limited resources, like glucose and oxygen. Studies have shown that when you exert self-control, your brain uses more fuel. And when that fuel runs low, so does your willpower. It's why your self-discipline tends to erode at night or after a long, mentally draining day. This is called ego depletion. And while some researchers debate its full accuracy, the core insight remains. Willpower is a limited resource, at least in the short term. But here's where it gets hopeful. Just like a muscle, willpower can be trained, strengthened, stretched over time. The more you practice using it, the more resilient it becomes. And no, you don't need superhuman discipline to start. You just need consistency and the right techniques. The first step is to stop relying on willpower as your first line of defense, because that's where most people go wrong. They try to use willpower to resist temptation in the moment, when they're already tired, stressed, or emotionally vulnerable. But peak performers think differently. They design their environments to reduce the need for willpower in the first place. Psychologist Roy Baumeister calls this strategic self-control. It's the art of front-loading decisions, removing triggers, and pre-committing to better behavior. Want to eat less junk food? Don't keep it in the house. Want to stop doom scrolling? Log out of your apps. Willpower isn't just about saying no. It's about not having to say it so often. But even with the best environment, moments of weakness will still come. So how do you train your mind to hold the line? One way is through delayed gratification. Think of the classic Stanford marshmallow experiment. Children were given one marshmallow now, or two if they could wait. The kids who waited didn't just have stronger willpower, they distracted themselves. They sang songs, covered their eyes. They strategized. This isn't just cute, it's profound. Because it means willpower isn't just resistance, it's redirection. Modern neuroscience backs this up. Brain scans show that people who successfully resist temptation activate not just their prefrontal cortex, but also regions linked to self-awareness and emotion regulation. In other words, they don't just power through. They understand what they're feeling and choose a different path. Which brings us to the next key: mindfulness. Willpower isn't about suppression, it's about observation. Becoming aware of your urges without immediately reacting to them. Studies from the University of Wisconsin found that people trained in mindfulness were better at resisting cravings because they learned to pause, to feel the urge without feeding it. Mindfulness gives you the space between stimulus and response. And in that space, you're no longer a slave to your impulses. You become an architect of your actions. But there's a deeper layer here. Willpower isn't just about resisting bad things. It's about choosing better things. And for that, your motivation matters. People with strong willpower often have a clear why, a compelling purpose. They don't just resist dessert. They remind themselves they're becoming someone who values energy and health. They don't just push through a hard workout. They envision the stronger self they're building. Your identity drives your discipline. When you see yourself as someone who follows through, who keeps promises to themselves, you begin to act in alignment with that story. And every small victory reinforces it. But perhaps the most overlooked aspect of willpower is rest. Yes, rest. We live in a culture that glorifies grinding, but exhaustion is the enemy of self-control. Sleep deprivation lowers activity in your prefrontal cortex and amplifies emotional reactivity. It literally shrinks your willpower in real time. If you want more control over your choices, you need more respect for your energy. The truth is, willpower isn't heroic. It's human. And the science doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be strategic. Create systems that support your goals. Train your attention like a muscle. Rest like it matters. And build an identity rooted in integrity, not impulse. Because the most powerful form of self-control is becoming someone who doesn't need to be controlled. You don't need to win every battle with temptation. You just need to win more often than you lose. And over time, those wins compound, quietly, invisibly, until one day you look back and realize you're not fighting the same battles anymore. You've outgrown them. That's the science of willpower. And the art of becoming who you were meant to be.